My name is Goldman, and I'm a third-year rabbinical student at the Jewish Theological Seminary. The start of my year in Israel was a bit lonely. I was struggling to find my place in this country and unsure of my community. I was feeling a bit like a ger Toshav, a stranger and a resident, the same words used to describe Abraham and Hebron in this week's Parsha. I had an apartment, an academic program, familiarity from previous trips, but I was lacking a framework to process my Israel journey, lacking a community within which to struggle with my relationship to this country that I loved but that confused me to no end. One thing I decided to do was sign up for a trip to Hebron with a Breaking the Silence trip. I was already aware of the work of Breaking the Silence. I had even taught as part of a Project Hayasara teaching a few weeks earlier, but I had never actually been to the city. The trip was organized by another rabbinical student who I had met and was geared towards Jewish leaders who had recently come to Israel. I wasn't expecting kindness. I was expecting trauma. Not the kind that Abraham is experiencing in this week's Parsha, but alienation and estrangement. Instead, I found community. But for a moment, I want to visit Abraham, not his grave, but where he stands at the start of this week's Parsha. His wife has just died. It seems he was not with her in Hebron when she died, since it says she died, and then in the next verse, he came. According to Genesis Rabbah, a collection of stories that helps explain the Torah, she died because she heard about the Akedah, the binding of Isaac, where Abraham almost sacrificed her only beloved son. And when she heard, her soul flew from her, and she died. So under these circumstances, Abraham returns to Hebron, likely estranged from his son, to whom we never hear him speak again after the Akedah. And he has also just lost his wife, the only person who had been with him from his prior life in Ur Kasdim and Haran and accompanied him to Canaan. I cannot begin to imagine his loneliness and fear. And what does he do? He reaches out to the people of Hebron, saying, I am a ger, a stranger among you, but I am also a Toshav, a resident. And if you give me a place to bury my wife, I will be a true resident. And at least the Peshat, the simple reading of the text, is that the people of Hebron respond to him with open arms. They say, of course we will sell you the best piece of land for Sarah's burial. Ephron the Hittite even offers to give the cave as a gift. But Abraham wants to acquire it fair and square, perhaps because this is the land that God has promised him, or perhaps because this is the resting place of his life's partner, and he wants it to be their place, not someone else's. It is from this passage that the law is derived that all people must own the burial plots of their deceased. Rashi, a medieval commentator, even tells us that all of the townspeople were there. They had taken time off from their work as a kindness to Sarah and to help Abraham bury her with dignity. Not all of the commentators want to view the people of Hebron this favorably, but to me it seems to be the pshat of the reading. Abraham was treated with extraordinary and unexpected kindness. Now, I did not go to Hebron broken as Abraham was. I had no dead to bury. But I was searching for an understanding of this place that represents both my religious and historical connection to Hebron and does not ignore the troubling situation on the ground. And what I found was a group of people to grapple with. The people of Hebron did not embrace me. I did meet a Kiryat Arba resident who was thrilled to tell us why he felt so attached to this land. I did not even meet the Palestinians who live in the Palestinian-controlled area of Hebron. But that day in Hebron, I found people that made me more of a Toshav than a ger during my year in Israel. During the Breaking the Silence trip itself, we mostly observed and listened. We saw the divided streets, the soldiers, the boarded-up storefronts. We heard Michael's stories and insights. We saw where Israelis had been killed and where Palestinian children had been harassed on their way to school. We boarded the bus back to Jerusalem, a bit speechless. But then we sat. We processed, we shared what we had seen and what we had felt. We gathered again after Shabbat and opened up even more. And then we decided that this could not be the end. We were all feeling a bit like a ger. We needed a place not to bury, but to open up. We need to open up our relationship to Hebron, but not just to Hebron, to all of the West Bank and Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. We needed a community. And these people gave me this extraordinary and unexpected kindness. And for this, Hebron will continue to be a place of uncertainty and frustration to me, but also of connection, to the people who accompanied me on my journey, to the people who live there, struggling to live out their own beliefs, and to my ancestors who found openness in that city. Thank you.